This is Managed Comics. This is Managed Comics. This is Managed Comics. This is Managed Comics. This, and yes, this, and even this. This is Managed Comics in action. Managed Comics is a multi-distributor subscription service platform that integrates with the best e-commerce software on the market, Shopify, as well as several different point-of-sale services. Together, Managed Comics and Shopify will turn your shop into a hybrid sales machine. It all starts with subscriptions. Your online customers will find opportunities to subscribe to products from the items on your store. They can manage their subscriptions online while giving you insight into ordering trends and the ability to set pricing on pre-order items. Each title has a dedicated page with information about the series, upcoming issues, and even individual covers. Managed Comics is part of your website, so customers never leave your site. They manage subscriptions, see their recent pulls, and even pay for orders right from your website. Managed Comics has an entire suite of back-office tools as well, from approving pre-orders to maintaining customer lists, to even cloning subscriptions from one title to another. Managed Comics has an easy-to-use, intuitive interface that works the way you do. You're in control with an approval process that lets you set pricing and availability on any pre-orders your customers may place. Getting products into your store couldn't be easier, with a check-in process that discovers the items in your invoices and generates products directly in Shopify. We maintain a database of over 370,000 products, with more than 3,000 new products added monthly from a variety of distributors. We make sure everything is up to date for you. Our check-in process sets aside items for your customers, creating orders that can be invoiced either online or through a Shopify-powered point-of-sale system, like Shopify POS, Connect POS, or even Binder POS. Choose which publishers and product types your store displays and select the distributors you would like to work with for a variety of publishers. Ordering is simplified with easy-to-understand ordering screens that will help you place orders with your preferred vendors. You can quickly generate final order cutoff files for Lunar, Diamond, or Penguin Random House based on the settings you decide. Simplicity is the name of the game, and Managed Comics takes virtually no time to set up. If you've already got a Shopify store, you can add our subscription application in a few simple clicks. Just search for Managed Comics in the Shopify App Store. Want more information? Check out managedcomics.com and click on the chat in the lower right-hand corner, or simply email help@managedcomics.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Hey, it's Brian from Managed Comics. I always like to show the new little videos that we're working on and things, and that was something that we did as kind of a teaser for the ComicsPRO event that we were at last week, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right to it. So last week we were at the ComicsPRO event. It went from like Tuesday until Saturday. Really, the event started on Thursday, so we'll chat a little bit about that. We're going to talk about kind of what's going on with Managed Comics right now. We're in a little bit of a lull, but we will be picking some things up, and we'll explain a little bit about why we're in a lull right now. March easy for me to say. The March comics are up. So we've added all the solicitations for Diamond, Lunar, Penguin Random House, and all those folks. And we'll talk a little bit about ComicsPRO, and I think why you should belong to ComicsPRO if you don't already. Do some questions and answers as always, and talk about our next one. Okay, I see we got the usual faces here. We've got Julian from BD Cosmos. We've got Madness. Anyone else here? Give me a little shout. We'll jump right into our development update. So not a lot of development has gone on. Recently, we had two major kind of enhancements that we were about to launch last Wednesday, so a week ago yesterday. Number one is just a bunch of data changes that are going down in the back end. We're kind of divorcing ourselves from the distributors for our main product listing. So what's going to happen is all of our products now will basically be their own thing, and then a distributor code will get added to a product that exists. And what this just does is it makes us a little bit more flexible for the future in case more distributors come on board. It also kind of opens us up to things like Ingram and other distributors, where we don't have to keep on adding new distributor codes to a product. Instead, we can add products to distributor codes, which is, it's confusing, but when the dudes explained it to me, it made sense. The other thing that they were working on was an enhancement to initial orders to add for shelf copies. And then that was going to quickly build on a bunch of other enhancements we have for initial orders and FOC orders. But as you guys know, last week, the Ukraine got attacked. And so both Taras and our primary developer, Kirill, are Ukrainian. Taras lives here in London, Ontario. He lives about 15 minutes away from me. But all of his family, his friends, his best friend is now, involved in active conflict. So he's not able to really focus on anything other than making sure his friends and family are safe. He actually has an office in just outside of Lviv, which is kind of on the eastern border of the Ukraine. Sorry, Ukraine, not the Ukraine. The Ukraine was when it was part of USSR. It is not, so it's Ukraine. Anyway, he converted his office into a shelter for people fleeing. So yeah, he's been kind of preoccupied and not sleeping terribly well, making sure that his folks and family are okay. Kirill was in Ukraine. He's actually currently in Estonia, I think. But I'm glad he is not in Ukraine right now, because every male between 16 and 60 is not allowed to leave the country and is expected to fight, with little or no training. So we're just hoping that this ends soon. It's a stupid conflict that doesn't need to happen. And I don't, if that makes me a political, enemy to somebody out there, that's fine. It is what it is. It doesn't need to happen, and we're praying that it ends soon, because this affects good friends of mine's families, and that's not something I would wish on anybody. In the meantime, I'm not involved in this stuff, so I've kind of doubled down on a bunch of different things. I'm really refining a lot of our processes and a lot of our things that I can control. So I've improved our help support system. You guys will have noticed. You may not have noticed, actually. Just the system is a little bit more streamlined. We now have a help widget that's available on both Manage Comics and on the help site. So if you go to help.managecomics.com, you'll see that. That appears whenever we're online. So you can actually go on there and send a message, and we'll get back to you relatively quickly. I'm still getting used to it, to be honest with you. I missed a conversation the other day at 9:00 in the morning because I didn't see the alert. So it'll get better over time. But right now you'll see that Craig and I are both available online, and we can respond to requests. Rebuilt the knowledge base using different software, which is just much better for search. So if you have a specific question, like, variant cover, maybe you could type that in and it'll actually give you good results. We have 44 articles and tutorials right now. I'm actually in the process of moving all of the changelog stuff out of this system and into another system, and I'll explain that in a couple seconds. And this whole thing is going to constantly grow. So I'm going to add workflows. So things like daily workflows, weekly workflows, and monthly workflows, so that at a glance you can find information about what do I do when a new person comes in and wants to become a customer? How do I set that up? What do I do for my weekly check-ins? All the pieces there. So that will be up later this week. I completely revamped the guide, the user guide. So I just noticed that a lot of the screenshots and stuff were quite old. Some of them from back in like October, which may as well have been a different program entirely. I also added the workflows that we'll be adding to the help desk. So you'll see if you go and download the guide right now, which is at the easiest way to find it is bit.ly bit.ly. Actually, I don't know. I'll have to find that. Madness asks, where is the knowledge base found? So it's the same place it's always been, help.managecomics.com. And that's where you'll find all of our help. You can also go to managecomics.com, click on help in the upper right-hand corner, and then click on Manage Comics 2.0 to get you there. So yeah, the guide is also available on the knowledge base. Here, let me actually just jump into the knowledge base. Help.managecomics.com. And I believe the guide is available on Getting Started with Managed Comics, which is currently the third article down. There's a link to the Managed Comics guide, which is also available at bit.ly/mc2-guide. So yeah, that's the easiest way to find it. We're also adding to our transparency. So we are moving the changelog over to a new URL that's called roadmap.managecomics.com. By the way, there'll be navigation in the help that will take you to and from here. So this will have our latest updates. There is also going to be a widget that will show up on the Managed Comics side whenever we post a new update. And you can subscribe to updates on that site. So roadmap.managecomics.com. But the cooler part about that is you can now add and vote on features. So if there's something you'd like to add you'd like to be added to Manage Comics, get it on here, and then everybody can vote on things. One thing is when you create your request, it'll ask you to enter in a code the first time you do to verify that you're a human being. Check your spam. I found that on the Gmail accounts that I was testing it on, it was ending up in spam, that code. But yeah, once you do that, then you never have to enter a code again with that email address, and you can continue to make requests in the future. So definitely give that a shot. I've got a couple stories in there right now. I'll be adding more that are in our backlog over the next few days. So an example is display the second and subsequent printings and show upcoming covers better. If you click on that, you'll actually see an image of what the proposed solution looks like. So yeah, if you want to vote that one up, great. We also have as a UK store and brackets or a Canadian store, I'd like to display and use UK pricing. This is just adding pricing tables so that you can choose different prices. We also have our roadmap up there. So what the roadmap will do is it will show you what is currently being worked on, what is to do still, and what is done. So if you're ever curious, what are you guys doing right now? This is where you'll always see one thing in progress. You'll likely see one or two things in to do. We're going to keep this fairly clean. The done will grow, of course, over time as we add new features. And next, if anybody has any questions about any of that stuff, by the way, it's all found at roadmap.managecomics.com. Shoot a question if you've got any questions on that. But let's talk about ComicsPRO. So ComicsPRO is a comics professional retail organization. And I'm gonna just say up front that I wanted to become part of ComicsPRO back in 2006, 2007, when I ran a shop. And it was a much different organization than it is today. That organization was kind of a little bit hostile, and it was very insular. Um, it couldn't be different today than it was back then. It's such an open and welcoming group, and really fun. And I had the best time in comics over the last like 5 days that I've had in years. So I really, I'm a big proponent of these guys. Their mission is to communicate, and they do that through forums, news feeds. They have a website called comicprogress.com, which I encourage you to go to right now. Well, maybe wait until my video is done. They have email newsletters. They also advocate. So I'm involved in some really, really cool negotiations with ComicsPRO and a couple of the distributors around data. And they have facilitated a lot of those conversations and beginning those conversations. So yeah, they're great with that stuff. They also are big into promotion. So they're one of the kind of leading forces behind Free Comic Book Day. They do industry days, and they kind of push a lot of the distributors publishers to support these things. They're also big into education, so they do their annual meeting. They have online education seminars, and they go to conventions and have retailer seminars. So I really, really recommend you look into the organization. There's like multiple kind of tiers that you can join at. And I know that they just have like a newsletter that you can join up just to be informed of what they're doing. At the very least, do that, because the information you'll get out of that will, be very valuable to you. Their current president is Jen Haynes, who's from the Dragon in Guelph, Ontario, just down the road from me. And I'm definitely gonna, spend some time and try and take her out for lunch and have some conversations about ComicsPRO, because the stuff they're doing is really, really impressive. So the 2022 ComicsPRO conference was last week. It was February 22nd till 26th. The Tuesday and the Wednesday were kind of like, they were like recorded presentations, and you could dip in and dip out of them. They were really, really entertaining though. Like there was some really, really good stuff. There was a session on the recent censorship of graphic novels. There were sessions on ISBNs and just interesting things. So I really enjoyed it. And then on like the Thursday and Friday, there were some publisher presentations, DC, Marvel, all those guys. Really good stuff there. And then Saturday, there was some sessions around kind of the more data and like point of sale stuff, which I was part of a couple of those sessions. There were some huge announcements as well. I'm sure you've heard the whole Dark Crisis thing is going to be kicked off in Free Comic Book Day. DC was there to say that they're going to heavily support and promote this. They're doing a lot of stuff in like movie theater things. So apparently there's a DC announcement during the Batman, which I'm going to see tonight. Very excited. Like they did with Suicide Squad. They said, Suicide Squad is available in comic shops. So that's great, kind of leveraging that multimedia stuff. They also announced that Chip Zdarsky and George Jimenez are the new Batman creative team starting this summer with, I think, 125, but don't quote me on that. Sounds really great. Chip's, really good with that street level hero stuff, which we've seen with Daredevil and what's that, Dark Reign series. So that should be interesting. Marvel had a really great presentation that was just full of energy with Al Ewing saying that he's announced he's doing a new Ant-Man 4-issue series. Kevin Eastman was talking with Scout Comics about Drawing Blood. He also kind of talked a little bit about Last Ronin, which I think is just ending now. Aftershock said Dark Reign was 15 years ago. Dark Reign was Devil's Reign. Sorry. Yeah. All right, whatever. Dark Devils. Aftershock is doing a massive overprint on We Live, Rise of the Palladiums, and they say that you definitely haven't ordered enough of that it's going to get massive coverage. And Dark Horse announced that they were bringing back a Star Wars title, which sounded really interesting. I think Dark Horse has done really good things with their licensed stuff over the years. So it's kind of neat to see what Dark Horse is transitioning into. And then I participated in a couple of different presentations. There was the metadata in the comic industry and a 5 point of sale systems. Although we're not a point of sale, but there's 5 systems now. There's Comic Suite and Comic Hub, which everyone knows about those two guys. There is also a new system coming out called Comic Shop Assistant, which is kind of loosely based on Mobi. There is another system coming out called Nerd Slice, and then there was us. Although, as I said, like, we're not a point of sale system, we just integrate with point of sale systems, and I think that gives you a little bit more flexibility than the other folks that require you to use all their stuff. We also participated in some retailer roundtables and some speed networking. And I'm going to play a video that we recorded for that, and it's a nice little kind of demo, soup to nuts of Managed Comics. And then if you guys have questions while the demo's playing, like, feel free to ask them, and we'll get back to them when we're done this part. Of Managed Comics. We'll go through some of the screens. I've got a presentation, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk through the presentation, and simultaneously we'll show you individual screens. This is kind of just a jumping on point, though. If you'd like to see more of Managed Comics in action, I'm just going to ask you to reach out to me. I'm available at help@managedcomics.com. If you go to the Managed Comics website, there's a little chat box in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on that, and usually I will hear from you within a few minutes, and I'll get back to you. So those are 2 great ways. I'll also be manning our booth at the ComicsPRO thing, so hopefully we can chat. But why don't we just jump right into this guy? So Managed Comics is a Shopify integrated subscription system. We're integrated with Shopify. We are the only comic subscription solution available on the Shopify App Store right now. And what that means is that we leverage the power of Shopify for their amazing e-commerce stuff with the power of Managed Comics and our massive GeekFetch database and all the stuff that we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. So what that means for you is that your website suddenly becomes super powered. So all of your products on your website can potentially become subscription tools and advertisements for subscriptions and pre-orders. And what I mean by that is, if we look at this monkey prints here, there's a little link to subscribe to series. When we click on that, we actually go through to the Managed Comics page for the series. And from there, a customer can subscribe to an individual, to the overall series, or pre-order a specific upcoming cover. And they'll see things like ratio variants and upcoming issues as well. The subscription tab is where all the magic really happens. So from the customer's point of view, when they're logged in to your Shopify store and they're available for their subscriptions, they can manage all of their upcoming subscriptions and pre-orders. So on their actual My Subscriptions page, they'll see anything that they've pre-ordered coming up. They'll see dates that are expected to be shipped. By the way, we update these fairly regularly, at least once a week. They can also delete or change quantities on their subscription items. Everything's tied to the FOC, so you're not going to get stuck with stuff, because if somebody deletes something after an FOC, they'll still get pulled until the next FOC. Also, if they add it after the FOC, they wouldn't get the next issue, and they'll get notifications around that stuff. The pulled orders tab shows them what has been pulled recently by date. So it actually shows the date it was pulled. It may have been pulled on the Monday, even though the street date won't be till Wednesday, but they can at least see that things have been pulled as they get pulled. Build orders are things that they have been billed for and that they can go ahead and pay for online. This is enabled only if you're allowing them to pay for their orders online. And shipping preferences, just let them choose between local or any shipping preferences that you have enabled. Browsing by product type will show them all of the different types of products that you allow for pre-order. Release date shows the latest releases that are in the catalog. And browse by FOC would show the weekly FOCs. So kind of getting your customers in the habit of understanding what the FOC cycles are all about is kind of part of the process. There's a kind of fairly rudimentary right now search in the subscriptions area that allows them to search through all of the different catalogs we have. And we have about 380,000 products available in our overall database, and we kind of maintain the 3,200 every month new products that get put up there between all the different distributors. From your standpoint, your customers are all through Shopify, so there's not there's like, we consider Shopify the source of truth for everything. So you manage all of your customers inside of Shopify, and then on the managed comics side, you can create you can search for customers that are in Shopify and then assign them subscriptions. Drilling down into their subscription list, you see things like, upcoming things that they've got subscribed. You'll see inactive products between things that are just done and things that they've removed off their lists in the past, and then pre-orders that they have outstanding. The customer subscription page is kind of where some of the magic happens. This is actually a really, really cool page that allows us to, as you can see, we're searching for Amazing Spider-Man here, and we're going to actually clone all of the existing Amazing Spider-Man customers into the new Amazing Spider-Man title. And it only takes a couple seconds, but being able to do this kind of thing, to create kind of look-alike subscriptions and stuff like that, is really powerful and something that can be done in just a couple of clicks. Customer orders are where your invoices that you're going to send out to your customers are, whether they're sent out via email to them, so they can pick, pay and collect, or if it's through the POS. So you'd create an order and then that kind of moves it over to the point of sale system. Customer activity is where we see all of the existing special orders that customers have made. And at this point, you can actually approve those orders, adjust the pricing, maybe make it discount exempt, and leave a little message, which then gets shown on the actual customer screen when they approve the adjustment that you've made. Customer changes just shows you any subscription changes that have been made in the last period of time. And our reporting stuff is fairly robust. We have a shortages report, which is based off our check-ins. So at the end of the check-in process, you'll actually generate a shortages damages report. We have subscription shortages, which just shows you who you need to fulfill subscriptions for. So the next time you check in those products, they would get pulled for these customers first. Held back products allows you to take anything that is kind of behind the shelf, stuff that you may have held back during the check-in process, and move that over to your Shopify store as well. And subscription totals just gives you an at-a-glance view of all your totals that are available. Our ordering does both initial orders and FOCs. You have the ability to adjust your shelf copies and do some filtering around publishers and product types and all that good stuff as well. FOCs let you upload a file first from the individual distributor and then go through and adjust your quantities. Check-in is where the real magic happens. So you upload your invoices into Managed Comics and we figure out all those products. Then you physically check in the products and mark off what is damaged or shortaged. You can adjust the exchange rate if you're a non-US customer, confirm the titles that are going to be pulled, and adjust any pricing that needs to be adjusted. So if there's 1 in 50s, or maybe there's some net price product in here. You'll want to adjust that before you go through your check-in process, because at the end of this, it's going to create all the Shopify products with all the descriptions, the images, the titles, the tags, and all that good stuff as well. At the end of this, you'll adjust any quantity that you want to import to Shopify. So like I said earlier, you may want to hold a few copies back, and that's where you'll do that. You just review and confirm it, and there's your pulls. And at the end of this pulls process, you end up getting a CSV file that you can download, that you can kind of slice and dice however you want as well. Plus, on these screens, you can change it from sort by last name to by ID number, or by first name, or by title, however you do your polls. Our settings let you get in there and really quickly change things like your button, and even the words on your button, exchange rate overall, your choice whether you're going to use ISBNs or ISBNs +5, a terms of service, which when a customer first subscribes, they get this little terms thing. Discount rates let you choose between a single or tiered discounting. Tags are really important because these help with your front end on Shopify and let you really kind of drill down to things like writers and artists and titles and genres, which you can then use on filtering on your Shopify front end. Ratio variants mean that you can actually decide whether or not to display ratio variants or not. And if you choose not to, you can just kind of hide those entirely, and they're still available on the back end, but not available on the customer end. And shipping options just lets you choose between local pickup and any sort of shipping that you want to offer. In the publishers section, you can choose which publishers you display based on local restrictions. Like in Canada here, we're not allowed to have boundless, so we don't have boundless on our listings. You can also choose which distributors you use for each product, depending on whether or not there are multiple distributors available for them. Setting product types, you can not only set which product types you show in your store, but you can also set a few things like Shopify has manual categorization to determine taxing. So in Canada, there's 9 different tax rates, and we set kind of exemptions based on those. In the United States, there's, I think, 2,300 different tax rates. So you'd have to set them kind of based on your own internal tax rate. And, I just want to stress that we're always available for help. So we not only have a really robust, and I'm really proud of our knowledge base. It has step-by-step instructions on how to do just a host of different things. I have 45 individual step-by-step items in there. We also have an FAQ. We show things like how to open a CSV file without breaking it, thanks to our friends at Penguin Random House, who had an amazing documentation on that I liberally borrowed from. We also have a live chat. So if you ever have a question, you can pop into the live chat and ask us, or you can send an email. And yes, we answer them all fairly quickly. We're really, really proud of the fact that we have a 91% happiness score. And the 2 people who didn't like our help, I've actually reached out to both of them and asked why, because it really, really bothers me. In terms of requirements, you do need to have a Shopify e-commerce front end. Whether or not you use Shopify POS is kind of up to you, but we recommend Shopify Point of Sale, Connect POS, or BinderPause. We have some customers who are using Lightspeed and Hyperspace connected to Shopify. So Manage Comics is a Shopify app. We are available right now in the App Store. You can get started super easy. It's literally 1 click. Actually, I think it's about 4 clicks. It's built into Shopify. It integrates with your Shopify online store. It takes minutes to install and get set up. And we have a YouTube channel. You should check us out. Bi-weekly, we do these things called the Managed Comics Thought Stream. We'll do one again next Thursday. And we discuss Managed Comics implementations and just retailer concerns in general. So if you have a comic shop, you already use Shopify, get Managed Comics 2 today. Just go to managedcomics.com, click on the little button. You will get, when you send your you sign up with your email and stuff, you'll get a link to the Shopify App Store. You'll get a current version of our guide. You'll get regular progress emails. We send out a weekly email about what we're doing and what we're working on, and you'll get previews of the new features. So that's Manage Comics in a nutshell. And thank you so much to ComicsPRO, and we hope to talk to you soon. Okay, I'm back. It's me live because I'm wearing the Batman shirt, and that one was wearing a black Batman shirt. Totally different dude. Okay, so during that, we had a couple questions. I'm going to pull those up. So we had a question from Madness. Is this showing? There we go. Do you bring in any of the non-comic products in Diamond Previews to make them available? Absolutely. So all that stuff is available. Let me share a web screen. Share screen. Window. I should have had this set up beforehand, and then I could have just clicked on it. So if you go to browse by type, any types that you have currently activated. So I've activated clothing for this store. So yeah, I can pre-order clothing. I can choose who the clothing's available from. There is also, yeah, like, so Funko, we'll see all the Funko Pops. If there were any Funko Pops. That's a weird one. Oh, because I'm not showing. That's interesting that publisher shouldn't actually show up because I don't have that type available. That's a little bug. Fun. But yeah, if you have browse by publisher available in, like, Hasbro, this will just be Hasbro stuff that's available. Because I don't have toys, I can't see any Hasbro stuff. So that's in your store settings. You go to settings in Manage Comics, and you can change which product types you have available. So just for fun, I will re-enable toys and models, and now this will be very populated. So yeah, that answers that question. Another question was, how do we get the order back to the POS system for them to be able to pay? So there is a section. So under customers, you go to customer orders. So this is actually part of the check-in workflow, which you'll now see on the guide that we've got out there. So I can invoice the selected order, which then creates a draft order in Shopify. I can also go into the actual order and see if let's say I want to only invoice this because this is, a dude came in and said, yeah, I just want to pick up my Batman 120. So I can just invoice the Batman 120. The other book stays in his pull file. And now in drafts, I'll find that Bruce Wayne invoice that was just created. And if you're using there's an app called Draft and Special Orders. Although, Jim, I think you guys are using BinderPause. Allegedly, you will have to contact BinderPause. There's a way to take a draft order and convert it into a BinderPause like accessible order. And I think it may be as simple as doing payment due later and due on receipt and saying create order. And at that point, I think it becomes an order that you can edit in, not that you can edit, that you can pay for in Shopify. The problem is, as soon as you do this, none of this is editable anymore. So you can't turn off the, like, you can't delete something from an order, I believe, once payment is due on receipt. Why don't we just find out if that's true, or am I a liar? Create an order. So we'll create that order. And now I should see that in orders, Bruce Wayne, payment pending, bingo bango. And yeah, I can't delete that item, but I can fulfill it, which I don't understand why you can't delete something that's in this state, but that's another way you can do that. Let me jump back here and close that. Yeah, and so just make sure they're in your diamond invoice when you're importing. You do your check-in, just make sure you do your, okay. Let me just hide that guy for a second. So Escape Velocity asked, can you give us an update on the store facing FOC features? Back in January, we were discussing FOC, and I wanted to check on where it's at. So I think you're actually specifically talking about, share the screen again. Let me go back to Manage Comics. So FOCs exist. It's still you still need to upload your file from Diamond or Lunar or Penguin Random House because we don't actually have the quantity that you currently have on order. The assumption is that the quantity is 0 if you were just to ask us. Plus, we don't actually have the updated, like this is the most updated information that you can possibly get. We only update these things on Mondays and Fridays. And I'm not always convinced that the files that we get are absolutely 100% accurate, whereas this is 100% accurate. This is what the publisher, the distributors have you ordering. This screen is getting a fairly major overhaul in the next 2 weeks as soon as the developers can get back into it. This was the thing that was supposed to be released last week. Really excited about that. The part of the question was, would like to see the items on FOC for a given week on a single screen and for each item quantity ordered and quantity ordered. So I don't know how reasonable that is to ask. We can do up to 100 items on one screen. You can sort those however you want. The problem is like Diamond sometimes has 450 items, and that would be a real burden on the system to show all that stuff at once. We can look at kind of improving that stuff over time, but we still need some sort of pagination, or else these pages just take forever and a day to load. Yeah, we'll keep on working on this stuff. Madness asked if it was possible to get a tutorial on the draft and custom orders for POS with our tools. I have a video which I'll make available where we've actually done a kind of a full run through. Frankly, I don't have that plugin right now, and I'd have to set it up on the store again. Escape Velocity asks, for non-comic products, are you also bringing in product info from other suppliers like Bio? We are not right now. We will at some point. In terms of importing those from those other suppliers, yeah, we don't have the ability to kind of check those products in yet. We will over time. Madness asks, the key is, does that app work with BinderPause? Again, Jim, your best bet is to check with BinderPause on exactly how to take an order. So you're going to have a draft order. Ask BinderPause what the best way to take a draft order from Shopify and turn it into an order on BinderPause. You've got help resources from BinderPause. Let me know how that goes, because I honestly don't know what the answer is, and I can't access the same help resources you can because I'm not a BinderPause customer. I can ask, and in 2 to 3 weeks, I might get information back that won't mean anything to me because I've never used BinderPause. So I would have some information I could give you. I honestly suggest you go straight to the horse's mouth. Single screen is not operative by publisher, makes sense to paginate. Yeah, for sure. So our things are going to be much better paginated, and yeah, with the filters, you can actually filter by publisher. This question is, if we don't use subs and pullbox, will your service work for us? I'm not sure what you would use the service for if you don't have subscriptions or pull boxes. The only real thing that you would use it for at that point would be to to generate new products, which for sure you could. And then you might use it for initial ordering. But if you don't have subscriptions, I'm not sure why you would have initial orders. So at that point, I don't know if it makes sense. I guess it depends on how much volume you're doing through Diamond and all those guys, Diamond, Lunar, Penguin Random House, and how important it is to get those products onto your Shopify quickly. We don't have, like, I've had this question a few times where people have said, like, is this a way to get the entire Diamond catalog onto my website? No. And I highly recommend you don't do that. There's about 3,500 new products that we add every month, of which 3,200 of those, you're never going to order a single copy. So why are you mucking up your Shopify database with product that you can never order? That doesn't make sense. So please, I beg of you, don't do that. But if that's your alternative to using a service that, if you don't have subscriptions and pulls, I don't know why you would use our service, honestly. Jem, you're sweet. You're so much more knowledgeable. I think when it comes to the binder pause stuff, they're honestly your best bet. Just ask them. So the specific question will be, if I have a draft order in, actually, you know what? I'll send you an email afterwards. But the specific question will be, if I have a draft order in Shopify and I want to convert that into an order in binder pause, how do I do that? I've been told by 2 different people at binder pause that this is possible. Honestly, it's why we built the system the way we did, because we knew that it would make things work for binder pause. Anybody else have any questions while we're here? Can I get Aubrey asks if you can get the email for binder as well. You know what? I'll send it to you. I'll send it to Jillian for sure. Yeah, so that you guys can ask that question. Guys, when you get the answer, send it back to me, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to show you right now. This is what we're going to do. As soon as we get this guy back, we are going to add it right here to the help, and it will live under the FAQs. And one of the questions will be, how do I convert a draft order to an order in binder pause? I'll happily add it. We'll even, let's grab some screen grabs. We'll make it super pretty. And then anybody who asks that question in the future, I can confidently say, here's exactly the process. Because right now I'm unconfident in saying, I don't know. so yeah, let's solve that one. Yeah, this is our new help desk. So if you have questions to ask, here's where you can go first. Again, if you click the little head thing down there, you can have a conversation with me. Same thing is on the main Manage Comics page. Click that little word balloon, and you can see that Craig and I are around. It will actually say up here, so it'll look a little bit different for you. It'll say whether or not somebody's online. Then the other thing I wanted to show you guys was roadmap. So roadmap. So if you have a feature request for Managed Comics that you'd like to make, you click on feature requests, and you can go here and make your feature request. All these things come through a back end, and we just we'll tag them with, I think by default, they all get started as proposed. And then they'll show up here, and you guys can vote on things that are out there. The roadmap will show you what we're working on. So you'll see here that the initial orders, screens that we're working on. Who was that was asking? Escape velocity. This will show you a little bit of, I can't ambiguify that. Darn it. So you'll see here that we can kind of get down to publishers, we can get down to product types, and we can look for specifically things with orders, or things with shelf copies, or things where you have a quantity of greater than 0. So that will quickly, and plus there's a search. So if you're just looking for, Marauders, you can type in Marauders, hit search, and it'll just show you any results with Marauders. So I think this filtering alone will make the ordering stuff a lot better. Charles LePage of the Comic List asks, how often are release dates updated in Managed Comics? So we update the release dates Mondays and Fridays right now. Charles, we should chat again. It's been a while since we've talked. I can definitely show you some cool stuff that we're working on. Escape Velocity asks, is there a forum where we can talk and ask questions about integration? Yeah, absolutely. So we also have a thing called community.managecomics.com. If you go there, you can post questions here, and people. I haven't really done a whole ton of promoting on this, but for sure, get in here, join the community. Let's start having conversations about stuff. Escape Velocity asks, was that ordering screen in the changelog? No, it's actually the work that's currently in progress. So if we go to roadmap and look at in progress, we're going to see phase 0 as a store. I want to add shelf quantities. So we're going to add this to both the initial orders and the FOCs at the same time. So actually, it might be like the initial orders get done and then a couple days later the FOCs, because I think there's a little bit of a trick between FOCs and initial orders. But yeah, this will be done very soon. Yeah, Chuck, I'll email you after this and we'll get a meeting together and chat. Because so guys, for those who don't know, Charles is the guy behind the Comic List, one of my favorite comic. It's the most accurate new this week list that you'll find out there. So he manually builds all this stuff. Poor guy. I can't believe he does this, because I do it mostly automated and it drives me crazy every week. So big shout out to Charles for all the work he does on this thing. And I have a small goal in my life to help make his life a little bit easier. So hopefully we can get together and do some work together and make his life easier. But yeah, this is a great resource. So if you guys just are ever looking for the definitive list of what was shipped this week from all publishers and all distributors, go to just type in Comic List and you'll find this on the internet. All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for this week. If anybody has any other questions for me at any point, you know how to get a hold of me. help@managecomics.com is the easiest way. You can also hit the little chat button on Manage Comics or help.managecomics.com. And we will talk. Oh, I didn't even get to I didn't do the last thing. So the next thought stream. So what I was going to do on our next thought stream, which will be March the 17th, I thought we'd take a vertical slice and go like a complete check-in. So we'll go from the time that we check in, getting the products in, what happens kind of behind the scenes when the products get created on Shopify, how the orders get created for your customers, troubleshoot what happens when your orders don't actually, like your subscriptions don't actually create orders. We can talk about that. And then we'll walk through creating orders and sending those to Shopify, and also how you can just like send orders out to customers so that they can pay for their stuff. Because if somebody's got too much stuff hanging out in their inbox or in their pull box, let's get them to pay for it and come into the store and pick it up at some point. So we'll walk through all that stuff, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with maybe I'll install like one of the plugins out there for the POS and try and figure out how to tie it into my iPad and show off my iPad on the screen. And we'll actually go through a process of checking somebody out. That last part is going to take a little bit of work because I honestly don't know how to connect my iPad to I know there's a way to do it, but I need to figure out how to connect my iPad to the screen so that you guys can see stuff. But we'll figure that. So that is it for this week. As always, if you don't already have Managed Comics 2 and you have a Shopify store, what you waiting for? You can go to managecomics.com, click the little yellow Get Managed Comics button. And what that'll do is it'll actually send you out a link to the Shopify App Store. It will send you the current version of the guide. It will give you regular progress emails like you're getting now and give you previews of the new features as we release them. So definitely go hit that up. And that will do it for us this week, folks. Folks, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it as always, and we will catch you next week.